I feel you, but I think you need to moderate your language. As I said earlier, yes, the country has mishandled Maasai issues. Right from colonial period to post-colonial period, we've mishandled the Maasai question. But Ole Kina needs to moderate his language so it does not appear to be inciting. You can still deliver the same message, but using different words that will actually be more stronger to actually show the disenfranchisement of your Maasai community without using that kind of inflammatory language that now makes you the villain, yet we know that there are very many other villains who have done worse, and what they say in public for public consumption is not what they do in practice. But now, Ole Kina, you will end up being the villain because you've not checked your language.
Thank you. Right. Dr. Ochieng Amolo.
I think we are falling into a trap here, Dibao, and it's a trap that is laid by Aaron, Dr. Boni Halwale, the DP, and this. No.
Let him finish.
Yes. We are falling into a trap. No, Aaron, don't be worked up like last week. Just hold your horses. You know, we agreed this week you will be smiling as you are talking. And so first, smile when Senator Ledama corrects you, which is true. That Honorable Manje said, because he said when I was there, that he was not kicked out of any meeting.
Because he was
hold on.
Let him finish.
Hold on.
Aaron, just let him finish.
Just let
him finish.
Hold
We'll give you a
I
chance.
told you, smile as you listen. Secondly, it is also true, it is untrue what you say, that only people from one community are allowed to speak. Because that contradicts that very statement. You just said it here. You just said it here. Because even Honorable Manje is not from that community. So many people spoke. My perspective, and this is why I'm saying we are losing the track here, yeah? You know, we have now converted this discussion and this show from discussing BBI to discussing the exact wordings of the utterances by Senator Ledama. Now, that is the narrative that our colleagues who are opposed to the BBI want. I think we should have the narrative of discussing BBI where one is wrong, you come and say they are wrong there or later, which is okay. But you don't vilify the process, nor do you now attack the person of the Prime Minister because he leads that process. So we are losing the plot. Where you want to debate one-on-one, and I think Senator Ledama and Aaron Cheruiyot were on a show just a day before that event or something, then you go there and you can have all those things. But we are falling into that trap and we should avoid it.
Okay. Boni Halwale, lastly.
Yes. I want to remind my brother-in-law, Ole Kina, that he's hiding his past. Ole Kina is a beneficiary of a man who adopted him called Gerald Williams. And for somebody who comes from that kind of background, he should be more tolerant to people who move away from home to look for livelihood elsewhere. Secondly, Oledama was educated in the United States of America, and he should know that that great country is populated principally by the immigrant communities. He should therefore find it easier to settle with the non-Maasais in Narok than any one of us who are on this panel. I know you're about to cut me. You know, it is important that when you are at the level of a senator and a governor, you promote things that are in the interest of the county. It is in the interest of Narok County that the Senator of Narok encourages investment into the county. If I was the governor of Kakamega, for example, I would be asking many non-lawyers to continue investing in Kakamega and, and others to come so that we can grow our economy. My brother, what you are telling us that we don't know where you come from. It is you who has told us where you come from by your own words and write up. What we know for sure is that you come from where you have said you come from, but certainly you have no idea where Kenyans should go and where Kenya should go.
Right. All right.
Just
2 minutes to respond, then we let you go, because I know also you have to go.
First of all, let me just
maybe respond to this, to the former senator, or the first senator of Kakamega, Bonnie Haloli. My brother, I'm involved in a quest for truth and justice. And I've said it very clearly that I come from a people who have been terrorized, traumatized, including even when you were in government yourself. The minister for, I think, water then, Martha Karua, used, helicopters to shoot at Maasais. These are people who have been terrorized, stigmatized for many years. And they're people who have been very hospitable. And so when I stand to defend their rights, is because, one, they are the people who've made me who I am. This proud nation of the Maasai people have depended on me now, having given me, the chance to be able to defend them.
Thank you.
When Aaron Cheruiyot talks
Briefly, sir.
You gave me 2 minutes. My 2 minutes are not over.
Continue.
When Aaron Cheruiyot talks about telling the truth versus lie, these things are there. Kenyans can judge for themselves. People, the good thing about YouTube is that you can go to YouTube and see what he said. We were exonerated by the Menje, the one he said. He said we kicked the non-Maasai. That is not true. They walked out of the meeting themselves. Now, and lastly, Dr. Esile, I respect your views. And all I'm saying is this. The only people who have a problem with what I'm saying are people who cannot handle the truth. And finally, on what my brother, Dr. Amolo, said, it is true that people are now focusing on me because they perceive I'm a tribal warlord, rather than looking at the message. This is an opportunity for us to air all our differences, give your opinions. We didn't like the fact that Manja said,
thank you.
Wants a deputy governor from Kikuyu. If there's any, we could have raised so many issues.
Your 2 minutes are over, sir.
Everybody talk.
2 minutes are over.
Everybody talk.
Thank you, Olekina.
Close it. It is important to let the senator know that the platform in which he was speaking is the BBI platform, and that platform is accorded to him on account of that the message that comes from the BBI platform is a unifying message, and the utterances by Ledama Olekina are not helpful.
Thank you.
The cause and purpose of BBI.
You made your statement. He's
Absolutely.
heard it. Olekina, just wind up. Just a moment. No. Just a moment. Just wind up. No.
What I'm saying is
go to your chance, please.
It is shameful for my friend Wamatangi to keep on saying that. Yet he himself is the one who's been grabbing so much land for Kenya Railway. So the truth of the
No, please. Let's not gravitate into other issues that were not really the subject of the matter. Thank you. Thank you, Olekina.
Please, I want to request him purely on professional terms to either substantiate. If he can't substantiate, to withdraw the remarks that Mother Karua used choppers to shoot down Maasais. Mother Karua, for all the years she was in Parliament, I was also there. I know that she has never been in.
No, we're going off the rails. I think Mother Karua was on the subject here.
Just a moment.
All right, just a moment.
Mother Karua is a presidential candidate.
Just a moment. She's not here, and Olekina now is off the rails.
You have allowed him to speak.
He was making his statement. Can we get just reactions? Because this is your opinion as well. He raised the question about the development of Kajiado. Buildings coming up willy-nilly. Don't you think he has a germane point? Because we know also, I think 2 years ago, or was it 4 years ago, in 2016, we had the National Master Spatial Planning Program, right? It is good for Kajiado to mushroom and, of course, develop. But do we...
Those are two different discussions. Those are two different...
I'm just raising a question. I'm just raising a question.
Let's help you.
The discussion...
Okay, it's Wamatangi.
You know, Dibal, the discussion on this, and that's why I would start agreeing with Otiende Amolo, then if you take the truth, is that we are losing it. You know, this is not a discussion about town planning and how developments how civil lines should be developed and where you need to have commercial buildings. No, I mean, one thing that I would tell you are dead wrong about, and I would want you to invite me to have a discussion with you on economic growth and development of nations and even counties. Then, if you want that debate, Dibal, but just even from the most pedestrian level of thinking. If you look at the sizes of land of Narok and Kajiado and Maasai land combined, and the level of development vis-a-vis the population of that county and what the modern Maasai person or the Maasai person living there wants, you would not even question development. It is an arguable fact that development should be planned. That is all right. And that's why we have a governor and a county government in Narok. And that's why we have the senator himself elected to assist that cause. Now, what we are speaking against is those kind of utterances. And don't tell me that all those Kenyans who watched what Ledamo was saying are wrong. And what we need to do is to nip it in the bud now, pre-2022. Because if we let that kind of talk gain momentum, and we allow people to use those platforms to say the kind of things we were saying, then no sooner than before 2022 we will not have a country. Let us agree that whether we are speaking from pro or anti, BBI or whatever we want to call our political persuasions, we have to speak also in alignment with the law.
Right. Yeah. Just a moment, Eseli, because now we are about to wind the show. You mentioned that we're losing the plot as far as the BBI is concerned with these particular rallies. I asked you, what or who actually determines the agenda of BBI rallies? Because now if we have podiums which are being used now to spew such inflammatory remarks, then how do we contain that? We need to know, do we suspend the BBI rallies before we get more utterances like this, so that we know what is the agenda? Is it a collective organization between the different divides that we have also from Jubilee and ODM or NASA that is defunct right now? Then who? I think we need to have a critical conversation on how.
Give us an opportunity to answer that.
Please, yes, briefly.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe Eseli wants to go first.
You stopped me. I had something to say. I heard Halwale mentioning all the people who have been elected all over the place. But I would like to inform Halwale that in the last election, the winner of the Jubilee ticket in Tarbo constituency eventually didn't win that seat. And we know the reasons why. It was Aluya. Now, Halwale, I heard you telling Olekina about his education in the USA and so on. Perhaps what Olekina saw in the USA and Canada was the life of the Red Indians there, the indigenous people of America, and how they are living their lives now. Perhaps when he sees that and sees his Maasai community heading that direction, it gives him shivers. And you also have to remember that rights of indigenous people right now are an international issue, whereby the indigenous people are being, how they can retain their culture, how they can be eventually mainstreamed into the system. This is an international issue. So I still think that while Olekina has used strong language and perhaps bad language, we as a nation must agree that we have a Maasai problem if we don't address it properly. Because remember, in the 2007 elections when there were the clashes, you remember our friend who is still an MP, Conchela, Honorable Conchela. You remember what happened in his constituency, where before it was divided, and part of it is where Joanna Ngeno represents, and the other part Conchela still represents. Well, they just surrounded the place and burnt it down. Because this thing is very emotive among the Maasai. And unless we actually sit down and try to handle it properly, if we just listen to Olekina and get mad with what he's saying without recognizing that there is a problem that we need to solve, then we would not have done anything as leaders. Because, as I said earlier, some of us, what we say for public consumption is not really what we practice. If you saw the whatever that came in, people asking about Professor Hiro, and they forgot to ask about the Laureate University saga with the Honorable Meli, who was the senator.
Thank you.
So all these things, many of us don't practice what we preach.
Right.
What we preach is different from what we practice.
Cheruiyot, we are winding up. Also bear in mind that
you cannot excuse tribal bigotry any day, no matter how flowered a language is used to try and defend it. What Ledamo Olekina is preaching is animosity amongst communities that live in Narok, and that's why we have got to call him out for that. I have asked a very fundamental question, which he evaded from. He evaded. The question is, in the rest of the regions where BBI had meetings, all communities that live in that particular region were given a chance to articulate their issues. Why did they find it so difficult to allow the rest of the communities living in Narok and Kajiado to speak to their issues? It's so simple. They can pursue their rights, but it doesn't mean that you hinder, you sort of suppress the interest of the other regions. All these issues that he talks about, land and buildings mushrooming everywhere, we have sufficient laws. The county governments, to the best of my knowledge, are led by indigenous people. Before you do any building, before you subdivide any land, the laws, the Land Act of 2012 that we passed demands that the county governments gives you the approval. So if there's a failure on the part of the county governments, do not try and blame innocent citizens of our country from doing that. And there is nothing, by the way, that is unique to any of these two counties that are not in the counties that we lead. I have almost 20 to 30,000 people who don't agree with my political sentiments in my county, who are from other regions, and they vote in a way to reflect the same. But there is no day that you'll find me arguing that they be chased or kicked out of a particular place and that kind of a thing, because that is not the kind of Kenya that we want to build.
Thank you.
Lastly, you asked a very simple question. Who is supposed to steer the BBI meeting in a way that it espouses the values for which it was created? This is a failure on the technical committee led by my colleague, Senator Yusuf Hajji and Amos Wako. They have failed to tame the hate. We have asked so many times. You remember when some of us had a meeting in Naivasha, we asked them to give us an official program of this BBI meeting so that we know which ones are ODM rallies or which ones are BBI forums. By the way, it is such a humiliating experience when you go to these BBI functions. Most of these people, and Otiende will try and deny this, but they are goons that travel with some of the political leaders who, if you do not agree with their kind of thinking, what happened to Moses Kuria happens to you.
Thank you.
Even Yusuf Hajji himself, when this BBI function went to Garissa, and we are being unfair to the people of the North by focusing only on the BBI rally in Narok and not discussing the things they said in Northeastern, I saw him address and I thought that was a bit off as chair of BBI, because I saw him say things to the extent that this BBI is a storm, anybody that stands on the way of it will be swept away. Those kind of remarks shouldn't be coming off from a BBI chair like Yusuf Hajji.
Right, thank you. Otiende Amolo, briefly, because you're winding up.
Only two things.
Yes, please.
First, I said, these are rallies. All of us have attended political rallies. Rallies come with the emotions, and sometimes they're therapy sessions. That's why when we were in Nyanza, the couriers wanted their, Honorable Marwa was allowed to say couriers want their own county. When we were in Coast, they said the question of absentee landlords. So let's have it in measured tone, because the Maasai land question is real. When we were writing the constitution, the Maasais even came with a big delegation and said the whole of Nairobi should revert to the Maasai. So some of these things can be stated and then they can be dealt with. But secondly and lastly, our colleagues in Tanga who are opposed to BBI should not use single utterances or some of these things to besmirch the process. When Aaron Cheruiyot says, oh, they should be given, the program and all, right now, the technical committee has been holding meetings in Nairobi. Mudavadi is on record as having gone there, Wetangula, I think Kalonzo Musyoka. What's stopping them from going to those sittings and airing exactly what they want? Let us move forward with the BBI that is collective, that is good for posterity of this country.
Thank you. Kimani Watangi?
Yes, Dibala, I think I would spend my time making clear one thing, that it is wrong indeed for us to continue propagating that notion that is untrue, that the Maasai community is a backward community.
It's not.
They're not. And I want to challenge you, Dibal, to take cue and look into critically the positions that are occupied by the Maasai community and the value they have added into our economy and into our country. How many cabinet secretaries do we have who are Maasais? How many lecturers do we have, including a judge of the Supreme Court who is a Maasai? I mean, do you know how many lecturers we have and professors who are Maasais? So continuing to portray the Maasai community as though they are a collection or a bunch of backward people who are somewhere, who must be defended by warriors in spears and shields is wrong. The Maasai community now is a very modern community. If you want to know actually, indeed, even in the most urban centers within Maasai land, who the investors are, most of them are Maasais.
Thank you.
Ask how many of them own property.
Right,
and so, when we are making this conversation, let us debunk that. Let's separate the two. When political leaders decide to take advantage by posturing as though they are fighting for rights, and what they want to get is political recognition and mileage, because the Maasai person himself knows their rights.
Thank you.
And they have been able to find that space.
You've made your point.
How should we deal with BBI from now onwards? Let people within an area or region condense and distill their issues. Then you have one script that says these are the issues that affect, for example, the people of Mount Kenya. And that is what we shall be saying in Meru ourselves.
My point.
Thank you.
Mine is very short. On the prelude to the 2005 referendum, ethnic mobilization was done by the former Prime Minister in the name of 41 against 1. It resulted in the 2007-2008 post-election violence. What Ole Kina is doing, what is happening at the BBI rallies should be stopped now. Finally, my brother Eseli, kindly remove your tongue from your cheek. Honorable Janet of Turbo is an independent member of parliament, not because of lawyers competing against Kalenjins, but because the Jubilee Party helped her opponent Okwara with a free ticket. The same thing when you're Secretary General, Eseli, in Bumula. You remember the task force I headed. I gave the ticket fairly to Mwambu Mabonga. But you as the Secretary General and the party leader, you overruled me and gave the party, yes, you gave the party ticket. Just a minute.
No.
Okay. You overruled me and you gave the ticket to Mwambu Mabonga.
Thank you.
And just like in Turbo, the people protested against Fort Kenya and Mwambu Mabonga won the seat as an independent.
Thank you.
Please don't bring the Luo community into conflict with the Kalenjins over the issue of Turbo. You did it in Bumula, which is purely Bukusu.
Excuse me, Boni Kolole.